rain dust. We got the illnesses wiped out after 18 months, but she spent 4.5 years on oxygen before she died from the lung function. And that is a problem for our community. Illnesses wiped out after.
Sorry.
What?
We just got feedback. We got to shut off something.
Oh, well, you can feedback at me. I can handle it. But anyway, I just comment that they still have filter problems down there. If you go down and watch when they're loading those grain trains, that just rolls out of there. And depending which way the wind is, you get it. If you're up at my end, you get it. If you're south, you get it in the north wind. And I suggest that you keep an eye on that and watch, because they could still make some more improvements down there before somebody else gets sick and dies. So that's what I say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hank. Do we have anyone else that would like to address the commission on an item not on our current agenda? Okay, please state your name, address, and there's a 3-minute time limit.
Hi, my name's Tanner Colburn. I work with Guaranteed Roofing and Exteriors. We're out of Manhattan, actually. So I know we're not technically local here to Abilene, but with that recent storm that came through, we're hoping to be able to do a lot of work. Not being local, we're more local than coming out of Kansas City or Omaha or something like that. I just wanted to kind of introduce myself and then mention the idea of doing mid-roof inspections. We do a lot of work in, like I said, Manhattan and Junction City. And if you look at the jobs that get done in Junction City where they actually have the mid-roof, it keeps a lot of the riffraff out, and it ensures that they get code required stuff like ice and water shield on all your eaves, that you're not getting fly-by-night jobs. Our company, it's a family-owned company. Me and my brother have been on our own for over a decade now. We used to be slaves for my parents, when I was working as a kid. I soon learned that was just teaching us work ethic, but main thing I just wanted to get out was trying to propose to have you guys do a mid-roof inspection for any roofing, because when you get a storm like you had, you're gonna have a lot of companies coming in trying to do stuff, and that helps just keep riffraff out, so to say. I know I'm not local here to Abilene, but I thought when I saw that town council meeting was coming up, I just felt it was worth coming and saying something, because any town we've worked in that has that, you see better jobs getting put on. But that's all I have.
Okay. What was the name of your company?
Guaranteed Roofing and Exteriors. Thank you.
Thank you. Just while we're, I'm assuming we're live now. Okay, just it's all pop up, so I just want to make sure. Okay. Do we have anyone else that would like to address the commission on an item not on the current agenda? Okay. Thank you. We have no business items today. Our next item is 8A under items for discussion. 1601 West First Street nuisance abatement update. City Inspector Stearman.
I I visited the site May 1st and I took some pictures and everything like that. The roof looks complete. Soffit's been repaired. He did a lot of vegetation trimming around the property. There's just the only thing that's really left is just some cleanup stuff. And if that's going to be an issue, he doesn't get that resolved, we'll use code violations and have that, go through the code list instead of a dangerous structure side of things. I do want to say one thing on that physical note. I spoke with Aaron earlier today. The way that statute's written is if they don't complete any of the work, we could bill them. With him completing the work, we can't bill it onto the tax, to the tax onto the properties. Probably Aaron could probably explain it a little better than I can. So it will be up to staff if we still bill him. If he doesn't pay, we can't take it to the tax roll.
Can you help me out here? I'm assuming you're talking about City Attorney Martin when you reference Aaron. What would you have the owner pay for?
The title search and all the legal stuff that we had to do with that. It was a cost of $595.74. Any questions for me?
You said there's still some cleanup. I'm sorry if I stepped on somebody there. Can you, I guess, be really clear about what still needs to be remediated?
Yeah, there's just some like, construction debris and some tree limbs and stuff like that. There's several pictures in the packet. At the pictures that were taken 5/1/25, you'll see in there's some, in just a couple spots in there, and I don't think it'll be a problem for Roger to get that cleaned up, guessing.
We have any further questions for City Inspector Stearman? Thank you. And Roger, I knew you wanted to speak as well. Do you still want to? We're not making a motion on this. It's an item for discussion. So.
Want to first of all, thank you for extending the time. We had that extreme storm event where we had 20 some inches of snow in my home community. You had 16 or 17 inches over here. You did graciously allow us some additional time to take care of that, and I do thank you for that. A couple things I would point out. There's a city tree, in our opinion, any tree by our understanding of state statute that projects over a sidewalk and into a city right of way becomes a city tree. We were required to trim a 55, 56-inch diameter tree. You'll see there's still a stump up there. Now, I've left the stump intentionally, in case anybody asks. I'd like to find somebody in the area that could do a tree carving. I think that would be a tremendous asset to the community. It's over a 99-year-old tree. So if you have any ideas of a tree carving, and if that would be permitted, I would like to do that or have that done. I will be quite honest, I'm not mentally thinking as hard as I can. I was in the ER on Tuesday. I was mowing grass on another property and I ran into some fentanyl. My heart raced to 125, and normally it's around 72. I've been on some medication, so mentally I'm not thinking as clearly as I should, nor may I communicate as normally as I would. Once again, I want to thank the commission for giving us the extension of time. Now, the items of the cleanup, when I last checked, we only have one stump piece that has not been picked up as of a couple of days ago. All of the exposed or damaged wood has been picked up. It's been taken to a recycle center. The guy's going to burn it and use it for another purpose. We trimmed a bunch of trees that the direction from the city staff or from the order was a bit unclear on what we had to do. So we did a lot of tree trimming that we're not sure if we had to do it or not. We believe that we've met the requirement, but we do not know because it was not very specific. I'll be quite honest. I'll be quite blunt. I work with a lot of different cities. One year I was licensed and did roofing work in over 33 different communities in the state of Kansas. Abilene was one of the most difficult ones I've ever dealt with. Your city inspector, while he's a fine individual, is over his head, in my opinion. He's not very user-friendly. He doesn't treat people with respect. And I'd be quite honest, I've not seen him on the job site. I was there 4 and 5 days a week, some days 12 and 14 hours. Finding help to work is a little bit challenging. Trying to train people to do jobs, very difficult. We found some issues on the property that we addressed and we fixed, some of which were not in your order, but we went ahead and took care of it. Now, one thing we do want to bring to your attention is that we potentially are going to be, I'm going to be talking with the city manager, but we got somebody that wants to consider using that for another purpose that is lawfully legal in this city. You have an acute need, to be quite honest, or a shelter for battered women. Been brought to my attention by a group that would like to utilize part of that facility for that. Because you were very patient with us, because you worked with us, that may become a possibility where they have tried many, many places in this community to put that. They've been turned down either by zoning or by the property owners who do not want that. I see a need for that. I think that's a great location for it. I would hope that if we need to do any rezoning or any other additional use for that, that you would be on board with that. But I did want to bring that to your attention. We think we've complied. We would hope that you would not table, but rescind, vote unanimously to lift your demolition order. And yes, there's some expenses in there. The city's got a $500 expense. Let me tell you about my expense. As a licensed general contractor, general contractors by state law do not have to have a roofing license. Property owners by state law do not have to have a roofing license. Your individual over here required me to get a state license. Took 34 hours of my time, 3 trips to Topeka to get that accomplished. It's not required by state law. It's not required by statute. And state law and state statute overrule your city ordinance that does require it. A property owner is exempt. A general contractor is exempt from the state statute. You need to look at your city ordinance and make sure you're in compliance with state statute. Once again, I wanted to thank you. I want to thank the city manager. I want to thank commissioners for your patience with us and allowing us to complete this. We think it'll be a good asset for the community. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Mr. Seymour, I do want to thank you for the work you're doing over there. I did have a couple of follow-up questions here, maybe for City Attorney Martin, I think can probably address most of these. And if you just want to take them one by one, I think there's a couple of things that he brought up that I think are important to address. Number one, the state license for roofing. My understanding is the state did maybe a decade ago pass a law that required a license for roofers. I guess he is saying that as the owner of that property, that state law does not apply. Are you able to speak on that?
Not today. I made a note to look into that. Certainly want to make sure that our code is compliant and not inconsistent with state law, which would possibly supersede ours. I will look at that and report back.
Yeah, and I guess that's the follow-up is if we can be more strict than a state or other law.
Sure.
Regard. The second was trees over the right of way. Is that something?
I am familiar with that. I anticipated possibly needing to speak to that. I pulled that up. That's addressed in code section 6-704, which states that property owners shall have the duty at their expense to remove, prune, and care for trees and shrubs on any abutting street right-of-way, alley, or sidewalk in accordance with that article. And then that article does give the city the ability to do that work. If the owner fails to do so after written notice, then those costs can be assessed against the owner or their property. So that is the framework that applies to trees that are within the commonly known parkway between the sidewalk and the street. Those are the responsibility of the abutting private owner.
And that is consistent with state law, is my understanding.
I believe so, yes.
Thank you. Do we have any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, we will move into item 8B, consider approval of resolution number 051225-1, a resolution designating the official newspapers of the city of Abilene, Kansas pursuant to Charter Ordinance number 31 and repealing all prior designations. City Clerk Moore.
Mayor, Commissioners, this is the resolution that would need to be passed to officially designate the official newspaper or newspapers for the city of Abilene. The resolution in front of you designates the City of Abilene website, the Abilene Reflector Chronicle online version, as well as the print version of the Abilene Reflector Chronicle. This was necessary due to the newspaper only printing actual copies twice a week. And our current way of doing things, it had to be a print published version. So this is just to cover that.
Any discussion on this?
We discussed this maybe a couple months ago, I believe, when we first passed that resolution. There was some discussion about costs and things like that. Can you remind us what the annual cost of publishing notices is?
It was around $3,500 a year average for the last 3 years.
May I speak?
Absolutely. Please state your name and address for the record. Just
My name is Kim McGuire. I live at 110 Northeast Sixth Street, and I'm the publisher of the Abilene Reflector Chronicle. I just want to make sure you guys realize that we are publishing 5 days a week still. We are not just doing 2 days. Everything is published 5 days a week. We are doing everything we can to accommodate those people that want to print their obits, whatever, on a print day. However, our subscription level is extremely high with the online also. And since we quit printing 5 days a week, we've had so many people come in that never got a computer in their life, and they've got a tablet and they're in, and we're teaching them how to use it. So I just want you guys to know that we are still legally doing 5 days a week, and we want your business, and we will work it out to where it fits your agendas.
Yeah, and I think that was one good, I guess, just clarifying point was in our existing ordinance, it's specifically stated the printed version.
Right,
So we did have to make some adjustments, but
right. And on top of that too, if anybody wants to print out anything that's online, they can absolutely do that.
Mhm.
So, or we can help them do that or do it for them if there's something they need a copy of. So,
Kim, I'm not sure if you were here at the previous meeting, but we kind of went into depth on some of this. There's really only a few things from a city perspective where we're actually required by law to
mhm,
put it into that print edition.
Right.
And so there were some concerns about just the timeliness of that.
Right.
And I think that's the budget, I think, is the main one that came up. There's a couple others as well, but that was really
Right.
our concern. And I think
right.
you can meet the requirements for that.
Okay. Thank you.
yeah, and that was just my way of thinking on this was obviously just from what we've discussed, identifying those 3 designated papers in the
Mhm.
charter ordinance or in
Mhm.
the ordinance. I get my personal preference, and I'll just state this, I guess, publicly since we're discussing it at the commission level, is my first preference is the printed version of the
Mhm.
newspaper.
Sure.
My second preference is the newspaper website, and then my third preference is the city if absolutely necessary to
Right.
meet a deadline. I just had some conversations about this, and I think it's worthwhile. The cost is very minimal annually, I mean,
Yes.
roughly $3,500 on average the last 3 years. But I think it's worthwhile to have an independent third party posting those if we can.
Right.
Just
I
so there's
appreciate
a
that.
separate archive of it and
And
all of
Right.
that.
I'd like
so.
to say a lot of
Sure.
people read it because I always have people come up to me and they'll be like,
Mhm.
hey, I read this in the paper. So
Ex-
no one watches the Zoom that I've heard of, that
Right.
everyone reads it in the paper. So, yeah.
Exactly. Thank you so much. That is true. I mean, everyone looks to the paper
Yeah.
for what's going on with the city, the county, and all that. So, one other thing I wanted to point out, we are not going broke because we put printing 3 days a week. We had a print bill that was over $12,000 a month. That is why we went to 2 days print and then the rest online. If we can work it out somehow to get back to 5 days, that is our goal. But those prices need to come down a little bit. Okay. You guys have anything else?
Any other questions for Kim? Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Do we have any further discussion on that? Jayla, do you need any additional clarification or guidance, or are you good?
I think as long as you agree with the resolution that's in place, then no.
Okay.
The resolution that's proposed, I guess you should say.
Yeah, I guess I'll look over to Attorney Martin if I agree with Mayor Ryan's publication preference order. So if the resolution matches that, then that's what I'd agree with.
As of right now, section 2 of the resolution establishes those 3 venues for publication as co-equals, and it doesn't establish a priority scheme. They're not in any particular order, so we could either designate that priority in the resolution to formalize it, or that could be just an unwritten policy that the city clerk understands and follows. It depends on the level of preferred formality. I think historical practice has always been to publish in the physical newspaper, as that was our only option. This opens the door to 2 other options, and we can formally set your preferences in here. It would take some editing if you wish.
I'd prefer to formalize it, but that's just me.
Just as another point here, I guess, do we have any options for 5-day-a-week publications if there was something that was urgent?
I don't think so in the county. But that would, I think if we did something, in order of preference, dependent on timing requirements or something like that, that would give us the ability, because if it was something we had to, we had to get it in today and we couldn't meet the newspaper deadlines, we could theoretically then move down to the 3rd option and post it on the city website to meet that requirement. So I don't know if there's language like that we can build in.
I guess I want to make sure I understand your preference here. Is there any reason why it wouldn't just be done on every platform? I mean, I think for most of the things that we do, it's probably there anyway.
Right, I'm just foreseeing future governing body, future commission, if it's not formalized to put a shit out to print, then we're still compliant by just putting it on the city website, then there's no incentive to then publish it to the newspaper. Because if they're all co-equals, then you can just publish to one, you don't have to publish to all. I think that's my understanding of how it's
That's
written now.
correct.
Yeah, to where it's like I'm in agreement where I want that publication of a third party, just to want that to be codified, that it's getting published by somebody else. So.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all kind of in agreement there that number one, having a third party and a preference for print, just because it reaches people that maybe the online and our website don't.
Yeah, and that's my expectation, that they would all be used.
And I think
So-
from the reflector side, if it goes into print, it's on the digital copy too. That's not a concern. But I do understand. Yeah, if we want to say, hey, that our first priority for a lot of reasons is to put it into print. I'm on board with that.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion on this item? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move into item 9A, City Manager's Report. City Manager Marsh.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I've named Kelsey Brand as the interim finance director. She has a solid knowledge of the Tyler ERP system that we just transitioned to, and she'll be able to help keep us moving forward during this upcoming time of transition. We received the 2024-2025 dividend check from EMC Insurance. The amount was $28,543.60. The Community Development Foundation of Dickinson County and the city will collaborate to find a solution to the lack of public restrooms in downtown Abilene. I think I've had that conversation with several of you before. The new shade structure at the pool has been installed. The Parks and Recreation Department, along with an assist from Public Works, will power wash the pool this week and begin filling it on Thursday. I want to thank Kelly and Kelsey for working to get us online, get us live today. And then I will be on vacation Thursday through Monday, which is May 15th through the 19th. What questions do you have for me?
Good with 4:36. So next up is 10A. Consider a motion to recess.
Are we good to move right into the study session? All right, I'll make what?
Yeah,
Good.
I am.
Cool. Then I'll make a motion to recess our regular commission meeting and move right into our study session.
I'll second that.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to roll call vote. Commissioner Vice Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Witt,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carries. We are in recess. I will now call to order the May 12th, 2025 City of Abilene, Kansas City Commission study session. Our first item is 2A fireworks ordinance. City Clerk Moore.
Mayor and Commissioners, included in your packet is the information about extending the sale and discharge of fireworks, possibly through July 5th. I also included emails from each of the vendors that have sold fireworks the last few years and their comments on their preferences for selling the fireworks. But I just need directions on the dates and times for doing both.
Any questions, comments, preference on this?
I read through the notes from most of the people who had, who sell fireworks, I guess. It seemed like there was kind of a strong consensus around the 30th of June being the date that they start. I think maybe some people might have already published flyers to that effect, if I'm not mistaken as well. So I think that makes sense as far as a close date. I'm flexible on that too. I think there's a lot of military veterans and that sort of thing, and pets that would prefer would be shorter, if at all possible. So
The way I tallied it, two of the vendors wanted to stay June 30th to July 4th, and the other ones wanted to go June 30th to July 5th. None wanted to start it before. The two vendors that are local were the latter, the 30th through the 5th.
how many were there for the 5th?
3. There's 5 total.
Yeah, that was kind of my preference from the get-go, just 30th to the 5th. I'll keep it open through Saturday since there'll still be a lot of activity then for sales, so.
Yep, I
Good
agree
with
with that.
Then discharge. I'll just, I guess reiterate my preference for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Just kind of being, obviously you want to open it up as long as possible, but also being cognizant of those that are, that have issues with the noises and sounds and all of that. So do kind of, and want to, yeah, be careful with that as well. I don't want to drag it out to an entire week of blowing stuff up, so.
Just for reference, in case you didn't see the resolution, Dickinson County did just change theirs. Their sales are June 27th to the 4th, and the 5th, that the 4th is on a Friday or Saturday, and then discharge from 1st through the 4th, extended to the 5th, also if the 4th is on a Friday or Saturday, or Thursday or Friday, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess something that I guess is a potential concern is if we're selling them, I guess the count, I don't know who sells them in the county, number one. I think most of the sales are done in the city, but we might be pushing some of those people out into the county where it's actually less safe to discharge fireworks if we're getting into wheat fields and that sort of thing. I know, I see the fire chief back there. I don't know if, do you typically have many issues with fireworks fires?
Inside the city limits, what we do have is usually down by Mud Creek. We get it resolved pretty quick, but the fire chiefs in the county, they can dictate whether they can or cannot be shot if we're in a red flag or high fire danger. So I think that helps. And the way it's looking this year, I think the wheat's going to be cut before the 4th of July anyway. So.
We have any other preference, comments, anything? The rest of the commission on that?
Do we have any enforcement issues? Are the issues in, I mean, most people probably just let it go if it happens, I imagine.
Probably.
Yeah, to be clear, yeah, for sale 30th through the 5th. 5th or 1st through the 5th. Yeah, I don't have a preference there.
I don't.
No preference?
I'm good 30th through the 5th too. Yeah, I have no preference.
Do you have any preference on discharge?
I don't shoot fireworks and I don't do anything with
This
them.
could be the year.
No, it won't be.
And I'm good with it too, the 30th through the 5th for the sale and discharge the 3rd through the 5th. I'm okay with that.
Was it one of the vendors that had requested the first through, I don't know, I don't think they were so concerned about the end date, but was it the Chapman group? I think the feeling he said is if people have them in their hands, they're probably going to light them off. And I think a good rule is one that people follow. If it weren't there, so.
Yeah, I remember he mentioned in that email that he would, obviously prefer sales to the 5th and the 6th would be okay too. Was it, I can't remember if it was sales or discharge, but it was one of the two. But Jayla, do you have that email in front of you?
He said that they really wanted to be able to shoot on the 5th and the 6th would be nice too.
Okay. Okay, well, we've got a little bit of time, so I guess if you want to think more on it, we can, we'll move it to the agenda or as an action item next meeting.
I did have one of the vendors that told me they print a flyer, so the sooner that they know, the better.
For the sales.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much at a consensus on sales.
I guess if we're looking for a consensus on the discharge, if we did the 1st through the 5th, we would be consistent with the county. That'd be a little bit less confusion, I think, just different rules. Yeah, I mean, if someone's lighting something off on the county line, it might cause problems.
Yep, that seems to make sense to me.
Also direction on hours of discharge on what days. Currently, I think it is till midnight on the 4th and then the rest of it is till 10 p.m.
I think I talked about this the last meeting, but I was fine with 3rd, 4th, 5th till midnight.
Okay.
So
What is sundown on the 4th of July?
it's
Late.
it is late.
It says 8:58 p.m., but that means you've got another 30 minutes of twilight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so personally, I would be good with 3rd, 4th, 5th till midnight, and then the other, if we do extend it to the 1st through the I guess the 1st and 2nd, keeping that at 10 o'clock.
I'll push back on you just a little bit with the where current ordinance reads during those weekday ones, it only goes till 10.
Mhm.
And then that would be my preference is 1st through the 3rd go till 10, and then on the 4th and 5th, since those will be holiday and weekend days, those go until midnight.
Yeah, and the only reason I was even recommending the 3rd until midnight was just because the 4th will be a holiday.
Right.
That was the only.
Yeah.
I would say if we're gonna try to match what the like other surrounding communities, then I would say we should start the sale. Looks like majority is June 27th. So maybe if we want to streamline it and keep the dates, might be worth just making it the 27th instead of the 30th.
Commissioner Miller, most of the vendors that responded didn't want to start before the 30th as far as selling them.
Thank you.
You can make it the 27th and they can start whenever they want, but
Because they have to stay there all night, right?
somebody has to be either that or they have to
That's what I
pack it
thought.
all away every night.
Yeah. So I think a lot of surrounding communities allow that, but they don't actually, most of them don't start selling. Okay.
Do we want
So we got
to give?
30th to the 5th. Are we good on that with sales?
Mhm.
Okay. Discharge, like I said, I'm fine. I mean, with whatever the consensus is, it's not a huge or a huge deal to me either way. I do, yeah, just during those I guess, holiday nights, I do want to be cognizant of being too late, so. And I feel like, even if we go till 10 on the first couple days, that'll limit any of the big loud ones, as I'll call
Right.
them here.
Yep. But then first and second till 10, the other dates till midnight.
Yeah.
That seems to make sense.
That works for me.
Is that good?
Mhm.
Okay, we'll call it a consensus. Anything else, Shayla? Okay. Do we have any further discussion on this item? Okay. Seeing none, we will move to item 2B, mitigation plan resolution. City Clerk Moore.
Mayor and Commissioners, the Dickinson County has updated their rural multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. The city needs to adopt a resolution to follow that plan, and it's for us to be eligible for FEMA assistance in case of a disaster. This has to be done every 5 years, according to the Chancey Smith.
I think I vaguely remember it 5 years ago. I went to look through it all and it was 516 pages covering all of north and or central and north central Kansas. So. Do we have any questions for Shayla on that item? Okay. Seeing none, we will move to item 2C, RHID Heartland Housing Contract Discussion. Commissioner Kohlhoff, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Wanted to check to see if the commission would be amenable. I received a phone call from Ross, and he had a previously scheduled meeting in St. Louis today. And he was basically wanting to see if we could have this discussion at the next meeting. So he said he just wants to come in and be able to address any issues that come up, and just that way he can offer any, explanations, clarifications, things like that. So, but he said he had that meeting in St. Louis already that he couldn't get out of. So he just wanted me to convey that if we're amenable to that.
Yeah, I'm amenable to that. I think there were some questions that we had that could probably be disseminated. That information could be sent out to the commissioners in advance of that meeting. Is that something that we could have time to review before we sit down with Ross, or have him via Zoom, however that works out?
Yes, I've looked through the contract in preparation for the eventual discussion, and I remember the questions that were posed. So when the time is right, I can address those. And if the commission would like a written report prior to the meeting, I can provide that.
And was there any concern about attorney-client privilege? Do we need executive session on any of those discussions?
Not if it's conducted via email. I would just encourage everyone to not engage in an active discussion so that we can comply with COMA. It'll be a one-way street with the information I share. Feel free to call with any questions, and then we can talk about it in an executive session if anyone has any questions.
Yeah,
I'm
I
good
would.
with that.
Do
It's the Tuesday after Memorial Day. It wasn't the Monday, so I think it was the 27th, if I remember correctly. So he just called and asked if we would be okay with that. He would like to be here in person, just to, if there were any questions he could cover in person versus via email or things like that. So.
That's great.
Okay. All right. And our next item is 2D, Architect for Sports Complex Discussion. Commissioner Kohlhoff.
Yeah, thank you. We had the architect come and meet with us here, and it I guess wasn't really clear to me exactly what had happened there, but I have some concerns about the process as much as anything. There was an architect who was awarded essentially a no bid contract for I think we have in our packet, we've got some of the details of what that contract looks like. I guess for the benefit of the public, I can reference that. Essentially, it's consulting services for the multi-use sports complex. I don't know, I guess, really what the process was for hiring that person, but it did not follow our typical purchasing policy. I think there's some further concerns. This is a local person who's got let's say, close ties to a number of people in and around the city and within the city and city commission. And so I just have some concerns about that process. So I'd like to see that go out for bid. Number one, I think, again, this doesn't mention any of her qualifications. I want to make sure that if the city is going to spend a whole bunch of money on getting multipurpose fields, that we've got the best person for the job, and she very well may be. And the right way to find that out is by doing a competitive bid process. And so I would hope that we would follow our processes and do what's in the best interest of the city. I think that there's some really obvious conflicts of interest, and I want to make sure that I'm clear. I'm not blaming the architect for that. I just want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to be clear and open with public dollars. That's all I've got.
I don't know if, Kelly, do you want to address the process? I know it's a task force technically, I guess, under the Parks and Rec Department, so.
So we had started working on our RFP and we just decided as a group, maybe we needed a little more help, making sure we were doing everything exactly right, legal, all the things that was a little above our expertise. Kristen has voiced that she wanted to be helpful in this project. So we brought her on. She gave us a price that's under the $2,500 threshold. So we signed an agreement with her, and all she's doing is helping us with the RFP process. She will not be designing the project. She won't be bidding on the project. She's just helping us build that and get that out there so that we have all the right information in it. So, and the task force all agreed on that. So that's how we came up with it. You have other questions?
I guess I'll just restate, I'm not exactly sure what I mean, essentially building that RFQ is going to determine what that project looks like to a certain degree. We're talking about putting in an asset that should be hopefully a 50 or 70 or 80-year asset. And so, if we're going to spend that type of money now, whether it's $2,000 or $25,000 or $100,000, I think we should make sure that I feel like that money spent today is going to be much more important than $100,000 at the end of the project. So that's really my concern, is just number one, the openness of the process, absolutely a concern. And then again, how we use those dollars throughout the process. And I think, again, she might be the best person on the planet to do this. I don't know that. I wasn't part of that process, but I do know that we have that process to help determine who's the best for a certain job. So.
Anything else?
Do we have anyone, I guess, is there anyone else that has anything to add to the process? I don't. No, Commissioner Witt, you're on the task force. Do you have anything to?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, our purchasing policy is pretty clear that a department has the discretion to spend money under $2,500, and that they're the ones that make the decision. So there's always going to be, we've dealt with on this board, but it wasn't a decision. It wasn't my decision. It wasn't Mayor Ryan's decision. It was the decision of the task force that came to the consensus, and ultimately Kelly's the one that approved the purchase. So, and then to speak to the intent around using Kristen, one of the concerns of the task bring an influence into the shaping of the RFP and RFQ process, who would ultimately bid on the project. And so anybody with time in the game is going to have a sort of advantage to it. And so that was the task force intent behind hiring her, is that we would have somebody not from an organization to do that. And then also in our packet, as communicated, she was upfront saying that midway through the process of bringing her on board, took a job with the design build firm. And so she made that apparent which is exactly why she's exiting on the at the point of publication of the RFP. And so she will not be a part of any review process, but is essentially equipping the task force to give us the expertise and understanding of how to score people well, so that then the task force can come to this commission and provide an educated recommendation. So looking at some of the other task members in the crowd to see if I've missed anything or if there's anything that they wish to highlight. Yeah, she provided her list of qualifications, 8 years of professional experience along with time in the game before that, because K-State's architecture program's a 5 or 6 year program or something. So there's some internships in there too. Lots of land use development, lots of other things that are applying. She's exactly the person that recommended to us to pursue the geotechnical analysis before going out to RFP, because the site selection is such a large part of the scope to the project, that really needs to be determined before the RFP goes out. And that was one of the things that when the RFP was out for a while, that's what Kelly was receiving questions on. There was numerous unanswered questions in that RFP. And again, this is the whole intent. So when we republish that ideally most of those questions are answered, and it leads to a process where ultimately the entity who's going to build the project does the best job for the money for the city. So.
Do we have any further questions, comments, discussion on that item? Seeing none, I would consider a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Do we have any further commission discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to roll call vote. Commissioner Meisenberg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Witt,
Yes.
Commissioner Koloff.
Aye.
Myself, yes. Motion carries. We are adjourned.